What's up, YouTube? So I thought I was done with my vendor reviews, but I do have another one I thought I would talk about since this seems to be such a big one on YouTube, is Harbor Freight. So I have bought several tools from Harbor Freight over the years. Most of them have been pretty good. I don't buy any. This biscuit joiner is the only power tool I think I've ever bought from Harbor Freight, but I've bought some other stuff from them, and they do have a pretty good. They apparently have kind of stepped up their game here recently and have. They're trying to take on the big tool trucks straight on, offering some pretty good warranties on stuff. So I think most of their stuff I've bought's been fairly decent. But like I said, I don't buy. I personally would probably never buy any battery operated stuff from them, at least not at this stage. So Harbor Freight was started in 1977. It's founded in Los Angeles, California, and Eric Schmidt and his father Alan started it, and it was a mail order tool business when it initially started up. So that's based off the research I could find. If you know something different, let me know, but that's what I could find on it. So on the tools I bought, I have bought some screwdrivers and stuff. I've got a small set of straight and Phillips. These are really handy, especially when you're working with towel racks. You need a little bitty bit. If they're not Allen, they're usually a really small straight or a Phillips to get up in there and loosen the little set screw that holds it to the wall. These typically stay in my workshop and don't stay on my truck, but they are nice. I use them on occasion. A set of files. I have had these probably 15 years or better. Some of them are broken. A file's a file. It did come with little wooden handles. I think I've lost one of them. But this had like a square file, triangular file, and then a round file, kind of like what you'd use to sharpen a chainsaw blade. But I still use them. I don't use a file a whole lot, but these work. Vise. I've had this every bit of 20 years. And the only reason it's not on my bench is because I just upgraded to a 6-inch vise. This is just a cheap 4-inch bench vise. Worked great, especially for little home use. You can use it as a small anvil, and it still works. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't have a use for it anymore because I have that one right there. Next one was probably this blaster gun, and it's a gravity-fed sandblaster. And I bought the material to go in this. I have hooked it up to numerous air compressors, and I can't get the stupid thing to work. So I don't know if the CFMs aren't set right, or my big air compressor in my shop should be more than adequate to run this. Even turning it down, it says a max of 90 PSI, needs a CFM of 7, but I have not been able to get this to work. Granted, it was only $20, so it's not that big of a deal, but it was a neat concept. I was had a trailer I was restoring, and it would have been nice if this would have worked, but so far it just takes up space in my shop. And in sockets, these are Pittsburgh. And I went through here recently and started getting my 3/4 or 1/4 inch, 3/8, and 1/2 inch of the tall, of the deep well and the stubby sockets. And I bought the little dividers. Harbor Freight's actually the one that sold these, and I really like them. They are these little dividers. And that's how I store all my sockets. I've got, basically 3 of these for standard and 3 of them for metric that stay in my toolbox. This kind of helps me keep my sockets organized. and easily go to it, because the method I used before was what my dad always used, which was just a drawer full of sockets that were always just rolling around inside there, and it took forever to find what you needed. But I like this method. So these organizers, sockets, I didn't buy all of them Pittsburgh. I had a set of snap-ons, I think shallow impact sockets, and then I've had some from Craftsman, I've got some from Husky, and then I bought some Pittsburgh. I'm not real particular. Some of these sockets will probably never ever get used, or maybe used one time, but it had a spot for them, so I bought as many as I could. And then the last item from Harbor Freight is this biscuit joiner. I bought this for one small job I was doing where I needed to join a biscuit, and it works. I don't know, I would have bought probably a better grade one if I was going to be doing biscuit joining all the time. But that's literally the only time I've had to use a biscuit joiner, was for that one small job. It's my Harbor Freight parts washer. I bought this when I started my G3 model. Needed something to clean the grease off of all the parts, and got this at Harbor Freight. One issue I will say is the keeping fluid in here does kind of rust the mechanism, but works like a champ. I looked at some YouTube videos. There's a lot of guys that hook up a filtration system over here on this pump. I didn't see the point in it. I clean mine out quite often, and I don't use it that often. I did also buy a dolly, one of their little cheap roll around dollies. You can see down there at the bottom, and I mounted the wheels to that dolly, so it kind of makes it mobile where I can push it out of the way. Like I've said in some of my other videos, I do a lot of different things in my shop, and everything I have has to be able to be moved. When I'm doing mechanic work, I want to be able to move all that over to where I'm working, and then when I'm doing woodworking, I need all the mechanic stuff out of the way, and so makes it nice on a set of rollers. I don't remember exactly what I gave for this parts washer, but they still make this parts washer, and I have used it quite a bit in the last 6 months, so good investment. Another Harbor Freight item I got is a set of 36-inch clamping capacity clamps. These are nice, especially if you're putting cabinet doors together or anything in a woodworking shop. You need a lot of clamps. I don't remember what I gave for these, but a clamp is a clamp is a clamp. So you don't need to have one that torques down real hard, especially when you're doing woodworking projects. So there's probably one of the items I buy a lot of at Harbor Freight are clamps. I like them. They work for what I do. So that is it for my Harbor Freight review. Like I said, it just depends on what you buy. Screwdrivers, mechanical stuff, cheater bars. I probably bought a couple of cheater bars from there. Actually, I did buy a Pittsburgh tire tool. This is really handy for changing tires out, pulling them off rims and putting them back on rims. That is a handy little tool. I have not used it, but it's a piece of metal with 2 bent ends. It's pretty simple. I have used one in the past, I just haven't used this specific one. So overall, pretty good. I mean, the sandblaster is the only one that didn't work, but considering what you would pay for a good brand name sandblaster, I was going to be thoroughly impressed if a $20 sandblaster worked to start with. So that is it. Let me know your opinion. Sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. You have a good one. See ya.